The region is coping with some bitter cold weather. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Rochelle Metzger. Thank you for joining us on this cold evening. Well, grab your coat and hold on to that hat because the chilling wind and frigid weather will be around for the weekend. Forecasters are predicting temperatures in the single digits to lower teens overnight, with snow possible on Saturday. The Department of Social Services is increasing the number of beds in local shelters and sending folks out to encourage the homeless population to go indoors. Prince George's officials say crews will be monitoring county roadways and treating them with salt. Agencies are also taking proactive steps to increase service and coordinate activities. Director of Emergency Management Ronnie Gill offers some advice.
If you have pets, this is the time to bring the pets in. I urge folks to check on the elderly. A lot of times elderly folks live alone and they may not have heating and things of that nature. This is to make sure you check on your neighbors. If you're out in the cold, don't stay out in the cold for an extended period of time. If you're going to be out, dress in layers, making sure you're wearing hats and gloves. Look out for signs of hypothermia, and all this information is found on our.
For tips to prevent hypothermia and a list of local warming center locations and hours, log on to Prince George's County MD.gov and click on Emergency Management.
When 65-year-old attorney James Bonnet was sentenced to life behind bars for the 1972 murder of his wife, the victim's family thought it was over and done with. But then came a 2012 legal decision in an unrelated case that opened the door for Bonnet to have his case retried. Byron Scott has the report.
It was June 21st, 1972, when James Bonnet shot and killed his wife. He was tried, found guilty, and sentenced to life behind bars. But because of what prosecutors call a technicality, a retrial was ordered. That happened last year, and he was found guilty once again. Today was his sentencing.
I am the daughter of Diana Marie Bonnet.
Lorena Simpson was just 2 years old when her mother, Diana Bonnet, was murdered by her husband, James, who is Lorena's stepfather.
It's a horrific incident that I never thought I would ever have to deal with as an adult. So to bring this back has been very numbing and, overwhelming.
Simpson says the years have been long. This is a picture of Simpson and her mom. She says reliving the trial all over again was very difficult.
Me and my family has had to deal with this again, something we never thought we would have to. But, with God's grace, we got through it.
Bonnet showed no emotion when the sentence was read. Life behind bars plus 10 years. It's the same sentence he received at the first trial.
She had filed for a protective order against him the day before. He was angry after she received that protective order after they left court. He went home. He thought about it. He stewed over it. He went and purchased a gun, and all of this evidence was presented at trial. He got up the next morning, put the gun in his pants, and he took a bus all the way across town, and then he confronted his wife, or they were estranged at the time, and he shot her.
I am very happy with the results.
The judge credited him 42 years and 213 days for time served. How that will or could impact his chances of parole is uncertain. Prosecutors say a previous attempt to escape won't help his case before the parole board.
They look at the time that you've served, and they look at the good credit time that you received while you're incarcerated. And of course, that good credit time is impacted by whether or not you've in fact been good while you're incarcerated.
Has he been?
Not in our opinion.
Bonnet's attorney says his client takes full responsibility for what happened 43 years ago. They have 30 days to decide whether to appeal the sentence. At the courthouse, Byron Scott, CTV News.
And while she did not testify in the case, prosecutors say they were prepared to call James Bonnet's sister to testify against him. Well, maintain the funding. That's the message tonight from the state's attorney. Angela Alsobrooks, the Prince George's top prosecutor, testified before a public safety subcommittee. Several state's attorneys say the Department of Legislative Services' desire to cut grant funding is a bad move, in part because the money has already been allocated in Governor Hogan's FY 2016 budget. Alsobrooks says that it would cost her office nearly $2 million.
Funding This is what has enabled us to drive crime down to the lowest point we've had since 1984. We've used this funding to hire additional prosecutors, to have other support staff, to have the needed tools we've needed in the courtroom. And the suggestion has been this year, maybe we should cut out this funding. We can't afford to, not just for the sake of Prince George's, but these are the largest crime reductions we've seen in the state of Maryland have come out of Prince George's County.
Alsobrooks says cutting the funding could have an impact statewide.
A female officer is filing a $1 million lawsuit against the Morningside Police Department. 25-year-old Carissa Lewis, the only woman in the department, says she was subjected to rude comments and not accommodated while she was pregnant. Most of her claims are against Police Chief Amos Damron. He denies the allegations. Meanwhile, a Bladensburg man is indicted for Medicaid fraud, theft, and neglect. 53-year-old Paul Robb allegedly committed the crimes against the Maryland Medicaid program from January 2011 to November 2013. He faces 2 counts each of Medicaid fraud and second-degree neglect of a vulnerable adult. Robb also faces 3 counts of felony theft. His arraignment hearing is scheduled for February 20th in Montgomery County Circuit Court. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Rochelle Metzger.
And I'm Patricia Vallone.